All right, everyone, is interview time. And this is a very exciting podcast because we have Tristan Taormino here. And Tristan has been someone that both April and I have really looked up to for many years. Back in 2008, when my mom and I opened up Pure Pleasure, the brick and mortar, which is now purepleasureshop.com online, we sold a number of Tristan's products, a couple of her books. She's written many books. We can't even list all of them on here. As well as her line of DVDs that we'll talk about here too, which we would often reference to people who came in looking for, porn or something hot to watch with their partner. And instead of saying, like, here's a storyline, why not watch instructional porn that was really tastefully done by a female director? And anyway, so we'll talk more about all that, but we're super excited to have Tristan here. And Tristan wrote a memoir, A Part of the Heart Can't Be Eaten. And we'll learn more about that, as well as many other aspects of Tristan's work and journey in the human sexuality world, both personal and professional. So Tristan, we're going to kind of because we're talking a lot about your story, we usually start with, like, tell us how you got into the field of sexuality, which is like, well, we will be talking about that, everyone. But let's start with a simpler question, Tristan. So what do you think is the biggest influencer in inspiring you to enter the field of sexuality? Like, what really stood out to you?
Yeah. Okay, that's a great question. So I did have someone who kind of changed the course of my life. I mean, there's a set of people out there who I feel like kind of paved the way for sex positive feminists and for sex positive educators, and those are like the folks like Susie Bright, Debbie Sundahl, Nan Kinney, who all started On Our Backs and also Fatale Video. Carol Queen, I mean, Betty Dodson, everything everyone does all originates with Betty Dodson, I believe. But then I also had this amazing professor in college who, I thought that I was going to go to law school and be, a public defender for the people. And I had written a lot about sex in my undergraduate thesis, and she encouraged me to write about sex. She said, "You're really good at it." And it was like one of those moments where someone sees something in you that you don't even know is possible, or that at that point I even thought was an actual job. And so her name's Claire Potter, and we're still in touch. It's an example of a teacher really being an incredible mentor. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Amy kind of did that for me, where I had no idea that this would be the world. I also wanted to be a lawyer. I have a pre-law degree. I was studying to take the LSATs and met Amy when we were waitresses. And then she was like opening the sex shop with her mom. And yeah, it changed my life. It's just sometimes the work finds you. People see something in you that you had no idea. I was like, are you sure? Like, I don't own a vibrator, Amy. Like, I don't even talk about sex. Like,
yeah, you'd be good. Is less teacher more like, you'd be great at this, which is true. I really saw in her, like, here's a vibrator, you should work in a sex shop. You're great at this.
I'm like, I don't even, the only time I enter retail at that point was to shop. I was like, I didn't even know retail. So I love that story because, yeah, someone saw something in you that now the world gets to be inspired by. And obviously you have so many books, and this particular book is a memoir. I can't imagine, I know even writing books that aren't based on your personal experiences solely, that it still can be therapeutic. So I'm wondering not only what inspired you to write your memoir, but what was it like writing it?
I felt ultimately inspired to tell the story of my dad and I. That's a critical piece and thread that runs throughout my memoir. And probably he died of AIDS in 1995. And probably a year later, I was like, I want to write this story. And then I found convenient ways to not write it by writing other books.
Distractions. But good ones. Yeah.
So, I felt like it was kind of like hanging in the room over me at all times. And then I finally said, it's time. And I think I did need this much space and time away, the distance between the events and now. And this book ends when I'm about 31. I'm 52 now. So I've had 2 decades to reflect on, all the adventures. And so I wrote a draft. It was pretty rough. But then COVID came. and we all had a lot of time on our hands. You know, I have been super busy, I feel like, since I was in first grade. But
That's great.
I do. I mean, yeah. So like, just imagine me, you know, in first grade. I'm literally the same person. In fact, I was directing plays on the playground. So I was the director even then on the playground.
You were the play director turned porn director. That's awesome.
Exactly. Those are the
You go over here on the monkey bars. You right
Exactly.
there, go on the slide and go. Yeah.
And you know, guess what? They all listened to me.
You're good at what you do.
So I've been bossing people around for a really, really long time. So COVID came and I was like, okay, now I'm really, really, really going to dig into this. And I started reading my father's memoir. So my father wrote a memoir, which he never published and which I hadn't read all the way through. And that was an amazing experience and also painful and sometimes really surprising. And it inspired me that I not only want to tell my story, I want to tell his story too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I have to like full admission here. I haven't actually sat and read the entire book, but I was glad because so I have a hard time reading things on PDF. Like I can read I have a short attention span with that. But I was like looking over and I like how it's these like short storytelling chapters, you know, in order of your life, and it has photos and everything too. And I'm going to sit down with it when I ordered the printed copy because that's like what I can really get into. So I'm super excited about that. But I love that the way that it's written from what I already saw. And so I'm curious if you can tell us a little more. We'll start with your personal journey before like the professional one. So tell us a little more about your personal sexual journey. So what are some key experiences that helped you to shape who you are today as a sexual being that really stand out to you?
Yeah. You know, people ask me this question all the time, like, how did you become you? And they think I grew up like in some progressive commune or that I was raised by sex positive parents. None of those things are true. I actually, you know, I grew up in a suburb of New York City and I went to public school and I got no sex education whatsoever. I had one class in sixth grade where they separated the boys from the girls and we were shown a film strip. So that is like that's like 1979, 1980, in the 80s. And, you know, the film strip was like this, you know, really kind of like dry, boring, you know, scary, like this is what happens if you have sex and you get an STI. And I usually can retain like a lot of information, but I left there with one phrase and that was fallopian tubes. And I thought later, well, maybe this will come in handy, but it didn't.
I don't know.
That's my safe word, actually.
Fallopian
now
tubes.
it could, yes, fallopian tube.
And I only actually have one fallopian tube now because they took one. So, I mean, I could read the consent form. So for me, one thing that my mom did though was she had sex books. She had a pretty extensive library of books and she had sex books. My mom raised me and basically I could take the sex book off the shelf and like squirrel it away in my room and she just wouldn't say anything about the missing books. So the first sex ed book I saw and the first explicit images of people having sex was The Joy of Sex by Alex Comfort, which is like, you know, such a classic from the 70s. And it shaped me in that, truthfully, my overall takeaway message was, wow, sex looks really fun. You know, I mean, they're like really relaxed and it's all these drawings. They're really relaxed and they're connected. And, you know, the men have long hair and the women have full bushes and they seem like they're having a blast. They're probably also stoned. I mean, I didn't take that into account, but it was a certain era. So, I mean, I saw pretty positive images. You know, I know that people see, and at this point, this generation sees like hardcore porn, you know, they one keystroke and they can go there. And sometimes they have to sort of step back and go, whoa, wait, is that sex? So I saw sex that was pretty fun. And then I also was obsessed with this TV show, Solid Gold, which was, it was on once a week. It was in prime time. And it was like the sexiest, dirtiest thing you could watch in prime time, where basically all the dancers wore like super skin tight outfits. And they would do these routines to like the top 10 songs of the week, but they would like grind against each other and they would like shake their asses at the camera. And like all the men wore dance belts. So their dicks were really prominent. And I was a little bit like, whoa. I mean, it was sexy. And I actually wanted to be a solid gold dancer when I grew up. I used to tell people that because I was like, that seems where it's all happening. And then I would say, I was just very sexually curious and precocious, like as a tween and as a teenager. I just kind of followed my libido, basically. I hooked up with girls, I hooked up with boys, and I was kind of unapologetic then. I don't know how this sort of deep ingrained shame in, the culture in the United States about sex, like bypassed me, but it did. And I just kind of like went for what I want. And I didn't really have like a tape in my head being like, you're a slut. Other people could say you're a slut, but I didn't have that internal dialogue. And then when I got to college, I was still fucking around, like very slutty. And then I came out as queer. I had like a first girlfriend, which I would call a starter girlfriend. Oh my God. She'd probably be like, yeah, thanks, Tristan. But the thing is, like, just to be fair, she was like a lot of people's first girlfriend. Like she was like one of those where she's very unassuming and people would be like, I'm not a lesbian. I'm not gay. I'm not. Well, hello. So she did that for a lot of people. She was, a recruiting agent. And then I had my very first serious girlfriend, who's named Jen in the book. And there's a couple chapters about her. And so the term I've sort of coined to describe Jen and then like future lovers after that is a breakthrough lover. And that is someone that you meet who introduces you to new things sexually. You may do stuff for the first time with them, and they create space for you to kind of explore your sexuality in a way that you never have before. And essentially, once that happens, you're forever changed. And so for me, Jen was that person. I mean, Jen made me queer, Jen made me poly, Jen made me kinky, and Jen was the first person to fuck me in the ass. And we know how that turned out.
Oh, we'll get to that part a little later. Don't worry, everyone. Yeah. I have a question about that one.
So I really feel like I had this amazing person who, it was sort of like she showed me this giant menu, like a menu from the diner. And you're like, could there really be all these things back there? Can they really make like eggs and like fettuccine Alfredo? Okay. And everything on the menu was valued in the same way, and nothing was taboo and nothing was off limits and nothing was weird. It was just like, order from the menu today. What are we doing? Oh, spanking. Great.
How old were you at this point?
I was 19.
Oh, you were 19. Okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. That's a good entry, like a good gatekeeper. That was,
I'd had sex with people and mostly cis men up until that point, but she sort of like revolutionized my entire sex life.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. Thank you, Jen.
Yeah.
Way to
and
go.
Starter girlfriend. And starter girlfriend.
Okay.
Yeah, get her too. Yeah, breakthrough
lover. Starter girlfriend, breakthrough lover.
Yeah, I love it.
So, and you mentioned several things I want to say. First of all, the solid gold piece. Amazing. I cannot wait to check that out afterward. I'm going to YouTube some things after this. I'm hoping there's some kind of coffee table book I can purchase with just
there isn't. It's hard. It's actually hard to find, because of when it took place, but there are some YouTube clips.
I'm going to 100% check that out. I can't wait.
Yeah.
I love it.
Be ready for underwear with suspenders over spandex.
Oh, yes.
Like warmers.
Yeah, I can't wait. I love that kind of stuff. I'm picturing hopefully someone on roller skates, but maybe that's just in my head. So obviously you talked a little bit about your mentor. That was the person that really initiated you coming into the human sexuality field. So let's talk a little bit about this professional journey that you've been on within your work. Can you talk about some of the key experiences that really shaped the amazing career that you have?
I feel both lucky and that I've worked really hard to get here, because when I graduated college in 1993, I basically started writing about sex and calling it erotic fiction, but it was essentially all true stories, just like a few details changed. And, and at some point I thought, I really want to write in my own voice. I do. And I had been editing this collection, Best Lesbian Erotica, for Cleus Press. And Cleus was this like independent, queer, feminist press. And they put out a call to all their people who they worked with already saying, we want to start a new series of sex books, but instead of being like tomes or encyclopedias, we want people to focus just on one topic alone. It's going to be this one topic books. And so if you could write about any topic, what would it be? And I knew right away what it would be, because it was a book that didn't exist, one that I wanted to have on my own shelf. And there just hadn't been anything written about this from a woman's point of view. And so I wrote up this proposal for The Ultimate Guide to Anal Sex for Women. I sent it off by email. And then I thought to myself, are you insane? Like, they probably were like going to start with something like oral sex, or maybe like sex toys, or, just like kind of like ease into it. Right. And I come like, like a bat out of hell with anal sex. And then shockingly, they were like, yeah, we want to do this. And it's going to be the first one. And actually the Ultimate Guide sex series still continues to this day. Mm-hmm. Like Dr. Jess and Marla Stewart wrote The Ultimate Guide to Seduction and Foreplay. It's still going strong all these years later. And it started in 1998 with The Ultimate Guide to Anal Sex for Women. So it was my first opportunity, like I said, to write in my own voice. And then also to do research, right? Like, what do I know about anorectal anatomy? Well, I've got to go figure that out and share like the knowledge that mostly I had gotten from gay men who did a lot of like community-based workshops, especially because, the HIV AIDS crisis was still in full swing in the 90s. And then once the book came out, I had to find a way to promote it. Right. And it wasn't going to be like a traditional like bookstore reading, like I'm on the road right now and I'm doing bookstore readings where, they put a little poster in the window and they say, we welcome Tristan Taormino reading her memoir. And no one was going to do that with my anal sex book. Like no one was like, this evening, there'll be a thoughtful conversation and Q&A with author Tristan Taormino talking about anal sex. And I mean, not even in New York City would they do that. They were like, oh, no. And Amazon was in its infancy. People didn't know if Amazon was going to take off. Obviously, it's taken over the world. So we know that happened. And so I had to figure out like creative ways to promote it. And that's when I created this class. I thought, I'm going to create this class, this workshop, and it's going to be, I'm going to take material from the book, and maybe some of the people who show up to the workshop will also want to buy the book. So that's how I began teaching. And, I taught my very first class at Babeland, which was then called Toys in Babeland, on the Lower East Side, the Rivington location. There were 10 people there on folding chairs in the tiniest, we had the tiniest space. Only one of them was my friend who I like begged to come in case, no one else came, but everyone else came and they actually paid to be there. And I got up from the room and I was like, hey, we're going to talk about anal sex. And then time just flew by and I thought, oh, this is like the light bulb moment. Like, this is what I was meant to do. I was just meant to get up in front of a room full of strangers, talk really honestly and openly about sex, answer their questions, share my experiences, share my knowledge. Yeah, this is it. This is it.
That store is still there and it's still really small and it's Babeland now, but
Yes,
that's awesome. I
there.
love that store.
Yes.
It's a staple within.
It's an icon. Yeah, it's iconic.
Yeah, it's iconic. It's just, I love that story. That's incredible story. I love it. You're such a pioneer.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's amazing. And we'll get more to the anal piece in a little bit. Everyone, I know you have questions about that. Okay. So coming back to the DVD part. So I told you that we've been fans of your expert guide to DVDs. these. I love this expert guides, and then the ultimate guides are the books. And like I said earlier, we just really loved that it was like the two-stop shop, two birds, one stone. I don't know. That's kind of creepy because you're killing things, but like you get everything in one, right? Like, do I want to be aroused and I also get to learn something?
The one human band.
One human band, exactly.
You play all the
two
instruments.
girls, one cup. Okay, sorry.
God.
No, you really went there. You really
I
went
had
there.
to say it.
I've
Oh
never
my
even seen
God.
it.
Oh my
Sorry. Yeah, thank God.
I
never
have
seen
not
it.
either, and
That's
yeah.
what people like. You should watch it. Like, yeah, that's
No.
hard.
Right.
Nope.
No one Google
No.
that right
You
now.
can't.
No one Google
No,
that.
don't
No one
do it.
Nope. It's someone's
Oh, God.
kink, but not mine. So anyway, so yeah, but I loved that, and the people that would buy it, they would love that too. Like they get to learn so much, and they're aroused because it's super hot, and also it is done by a feminist female director. So let's talk about porn and sex here. So first, how did you become known as the trailblazing feminist pornographer? Ooh, love it.
Ooh, I mean, they gave me an award for that, and I'm looking at it right now. So it does say the Trailblazer.
Oh, perfect.
I guess that's what people think. You know, this all stems again from that first book. I wanted to make a movie version of my first book, and I wanted it to be instructional and educational, but I also wanted to be really, really hot. And I didn't just want to kind of make something that all my friends would watch, or, you know, the sort of particular kind of like queer kinky set. I wanted to make it for the masses. Like I really wanted to educate everyone. And so I made this first movie, also called The Ultimate Guide to Anal Sex for Women, with a company called Evil Angel, which is headed by John Stagliano. And he was known as the sort of father of gonzo porn. And gonzo porn is porn that doesn't have high production values or a storyline. Basically, it's kind of, you know, it's kind of like documentary style porn. And also sometimes the person behind the camera is a character, or the camera is definitely acknowledged and people speak directly to the camera. And so that was my favorite genre of porn at that point. And I was like, let me combine that with sex ed. And there were some models for sex ed videos. Nina Hartley had her own line of sex education videos for Adam and Eve. And there had been some sex education videos made by Fatale Video, which was, again, like the video arm of On Our Backs. And so I had some kind of models, and I was like, I want to combine that with like just super, super hot anal sex. And I got this opportunity to work with John, which was unbelievable. I mean, I basically say it's like, you never went to film school, you never picked up a camera, and then Steven Spielberg is like, hey, why don't I fund and shoot your first movie? And you're like,
Yeah.
Okay. And so I really meant to make just one video. Now I made a sequel because porn loves a sequel. And then I, you know, went about my business of, you know, I was writing for the Village Voice and I was teaching these workshops. Now I had expanded beyond anal sex. I wrote additional books. And then in 2005, I came back to porn, really wanting to make it more central to my career. And that was for a couple of reasons. I mean, one was that there still weren't enough women in positions of power. There weren't enough women producers, directors, you know, in the case of scripted things, writers. Candida Royale, who is the OG pioneering feminist pornographer, she had laid out this whole groundwork for what she called porn from a woman's point of view. And some of the main studios tried to kind of like copy it and knock it off. But of course, they didn't do it well at all. They missed her touch, and her touch was very important. And so I felt like, okay, so there was Candida, and then like she paved the way for some female directors, most of whom were originally performers, but there's still not enough. Like there's still not enough. And someone's got to shake things up, quite frankly. Someone has to shake things up, because we can't just have this like sort of steady diet of the same old porn that's predictable and formulaic and really centers men's pleasure and men's orgasms, and men's cum, quite frankly. We really have to like change this and intervene. And so I was super lucky that I made a film for Adam and Eve, and then Vivid Entertainment offered me this exclusive directing gig where I did a sex ed series, The Expert Guide, and I also did my own gonzo series called Chemistry.
Oh, I remember Chemistry. We saw that
yeah,
too. We had that at Pure Pleasure as well.
Yes.
Yes.
Chemistry is a classic. It still holds up. So, Steve Hirsch, who was the head of Vivid, really gave me like the ultimate freedom to do what I wanted and to experiment and to do things that hadn't been done before. And I loved it, first of all. If pornographers tell you that like it doesn't matter that people are having sex in front of them, like that's not a perk of the job, they're lying, or they're so jaded and like that they should retire, because watching people have sex in front of you and like collaborating on what it's going to look like and what's going to happen, it's super hot. There are at least several instances when I can recall wrapping up a scene and having to just like take a moment, not like take a moment, like masturbate in the bathroom because I'm the director, like I'm running the set, but be like, wow, that really turned me on. Like in real time, that turned me on. And I loved collaborating with performers. I loved creating this kind of new genre of sex ed. At the time, we really took advantage of the DVD format. And we had, if you remember, pop-up video on VH1 where little bubbles would come up and like tell you facts about during a music video, tell you facts about the singer or the song or shooting the video. We had little pop-ups come up, which were like tips and techniques. And
couldn't you choose two options? One was without it, and one was with it.
And,
yes,
well, that's the thing is you could watch it with the sex ed narration and all the sort of examples, and then or you could turn it off and watch it just as a sex scene from beginning to end. So that was groundbreaking at the time. And people really loved it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, pop-up video. That's how I loved that pop-up video. The VH1 version. I haven't seen the one that
pop-up video.
Yeah. You've seen it. No, because we used. So part of the homework at Pure Pleasure back in the day would be the employees don't have to watch the DVDs.
You're encouraged to.
You're encouraged to. And so we had, you could like rent them. Basically, you just take it home and borrow it and write your name. And so we would go and we would have like little porn parties where April and I'd be like watching porn with friends around who our friends were like, this is weird. But for us, it was normal.
Yeah, we did that a lot.
Yeah.
I was just thinking this and I don't know. And so I'm going to ask, maybe Amy. So because I no longer have a DVD player. And so most folks are getting their porn online. And so can you get these things? Can you, and this brings me to an actual question as well, but where can we find these, I mean, very nostalgic and they're incredibly helpful, still relevant, of course. Some of the expert guide DVDs that once were DVDs, I'm sure they've been converted.
Yeah. So you can find them streaming. So yeah, there's digital versions of them. I just want to do a PSA. Everyone should pay for their porn.
Yeah.
And not like, troll the tube sites where my material has been pirated and used without permission of me or Vivid. But yeah, so if you went to something like, I don't have any affiliation, but like Adult DVD Empire, and you searched my name, all of my videos would come up in digital form.
In digital form, so you can stream them. Okay, cool.
And we still sell them at purepleasureshop.com, by the way. I don't know if we have all of them, but they're still there. And so your books like Opening Up and Ultimate Guide to Anal Sex are still on there too. But yeah, a lot of people don't have DVD. I don't have a DVD player.
I actually don't.
Do.
That's what I was wondering.
Because, for nostalgia and and actually it came in handy because Evil Angel, which did my first movie, they have released a brand new remastered edition of my first movie in honor of the publication of my book. Awesome. And so, so I'm that'll be promoted all over my social media. You'll see that, but it's pretty exciting because the technology back then was a little rough. I just remember thinking like, this is the font you chose. I mean, it's just something so minor, but so they've digitally remastered it. It looks better. There's some lost footage. When we really moved to this format of scenes, a lot of the scenes got chopped up, and so some of the talking and things around the scenes got cut off. So we put all of that back in, and you can watch the entire movie now, and that's on evilangel.com.
Okay, cool. Thank you for that, because it just occurred to me. I'm like, wait, where do I find these pieces now that I remember so vividly? So that brings me to the question of, obviously ethical porn, paying for your porn is important. And you can get you can get ethical porn, even membership to sites that offer this, that all of the actors are being paid, and you're contributing to something that isn't just pirated, which is never cool. So what is your top advice for folks who want to watch and buy ethical porn?
There are a lot of great sites, and you can do your research, because the other thing is that anyone who's feminist or ethical will have like a mission statement on their website, right? So that's the first thing you do. You go to if you go to a website, I'm not going to name one, but if you go to mainstream website, like they aren't like, hey, here's our performer's Bill of Rights. They're just like, hey, get in the bus. I'm going to bang you. So that's what I'm talking about. So I would say there's 3 companies that I absolutely love and recommend all the time. If you want sort of diverse sexuality, but definitely a lot of really good straight porn, high production values, super sexy, Erica Lust is your person, right? So you want to watch Erica Lust, and she has a whole empire and just amazing, amazing work. If you want something that's queer and authentic and lots of people with a lot of different gender expressions and lots of sex toys and tattoos, then you want Crash Pad. Crash Pad is done by Shine Louise Houston. It's one of, I think it's the longest running queer porn company in history, because it's been going on for so long, and it's still, the content is super fresh and super hot. And then if you're into like a little bit of experimental, let's get indie, let's get a little weird, then I say Aorta Films, Aorta like your heart, because they do some like offbeat, not typical, let's see like kind of where this is going. It's artistic, it's edgy, it's not quite like anything else.
Nice. We've had Bree Mills on our show as well.
Oh yeah.
And the same kind of platform. I can't remember.
Adult Time.
That's what I was going with.
Bree Mills is also great. And there's a couple sort of documentary style films and series that she's done where like that focus around one performer. Those are especially really good.
Right.
Yeah. We've received emails from a number of people asking, how do I find, ethical porn? Which brings me to a similar question, or like on the same note. And so I believe one of your expert guides is to rough sex, right? Isn't there an expert guide to rough sex? Okay. So what if I'm turned on by rough or objectifying porn or fantasies, or maybe I like it in real life too, but I feel shame about it when I watch it or think about it? Any advice for me? I'm like, I'm a bad person.
Yeah. Well, I think the thing, first of all, I don't think we should censor our fantasies. Our fantasies live in our heads, right? And so if you want to have like an alien gangbang, obviously you can't make that come true in real life, but please party on with those aliens while you're masturbating. Tell the story to your partner of the alien gangbang. I mean, I really don't want people to censor their fantasies. These are thoughts that we have. They are not actions. So, and some of our fantasies we don't want to make happen, right? They just really turn us on. And they get us hot and they get us off. But we don't want to make them happen. But I realize that like we live under patriarchy. We live in a culture where women are second-class citizens and are marginalized and are not paid the same amount and are harassed. And there's all these stereotypes about how we're supposed to look and how we're supposed to behave. And so the idea that you would want to experience rough sex, especially at the hands of someone who is a man or masculine presenting, or that you would want to be like told what to do or dominated, of course, that's like a big hot button issue because we walk in the world, as people who most of us have experienced some level of sexual coercion and violence, and that is real. So we have all these mixed feelings and all this ambivalence about our fantasies when we want to be dominated, objectified, even degraded. But the difference is when we're doing it with someone who is our partner, we've consented to it beforehand. We've negotiated it extensively. We've really set the limits. We've set the rules, and our partner's going to follow them, hopefully, and in most cases. And because of that, because of the consent underlying it, you're running the show, right? You're only being objectified in the ways you want to be objectified. You're not being objectified like you're crossing the street and a bunch of men are catcalling you, right? Or that someone crosses the street to follow you and you feel like that person's looking at me like I'm a piece of meat. But when someone is your lover and they look at you like you are a piece of meat and they might want to devour you, that's hot.
Yeah.
That's different and that's hot.
Yeah.
So I think people have to realize like these are taboo issues that are happening in real life that we want to wrestle with sometimes in our sex lives. And just know that when there's consent, it's entirely different. This is not violence. This is not actual degradation. It's play. It's role play, right? And we all get to play in spaces that sometimes are dark, sometimes have a little danger, sometimes have a little edge to them. I mean, we like all of that with our sex, right? And so, and I'm someone, you know, who walks in the world as like a badass bitch, right? And I really don't take shit from anyone. But when my lover wants me on my knees and wants to call me a fucking dirty slut, I'm here for it. And my entire body just lights the fuck up over that.
Oh yeah,
me
too.
So you can enjoy watching. So because I think when it comes to the world of porn too, you know, if I were to watch the Expert Guide to Rough Sex and know that this is an ethical company, director, etc., everyone is fully consenting,
Right.
You know, fully on board, getting paid well, versus like watching something on some of those websites that we won't name, where we might not exactly know all of the behind the scenes things.
Yeah. No, I think it's important to know everyone's being treated well. Everyone's consented to this. I include some negotiation stuff in my porn. It's not behind the scenes. It's actually part of the scene. And I feel like that can help people just like that, give them permission to be like, okay, the female performer, you know, designed this scene. She said exactly what she wants. She's picked her partner. And now that I know all of that, I can just dive right in with her with no worries.
Yeah, I love that.
And when you pay for porn, you also can watch it again and again, right? I mean, it belongs to you then, which you don't have
if
to.
If you download it, you can also pay to just stream it. Yeah,
or like a 24-hour rental or something.
Okay,
or like Erica Lust and Crashpad and some of the others have membership sites, right? So you can watch as much as you want.
Yeah. That's what I've known the most are the membership sites where you pay. And then, however, when you're not paying for, even if you pay from some of the bigger sites, you're not necessarily going to give your money to the people that are making the porn ethical and to the actors. It's probably going to the site that's hosting these pirated films.
Yeah, for the tube sites and the pirated ones, absolutely. You're lining the pockets of, well, in some cases, organized crime.
Totally.
And people who really could care less about working conditions, about performers' rights, or about any. Yeah, I mean, their model is to make money. That's it.
Yeah, the classic capitalistic views of that most people hold, and I think it's. I mean,
I want people to pay for porn because, again, then that means you'll get more porn. I think that there is an entire generation who grew up thinking, "Oh, porn, it's free." And I said, I say to these college students, especially, like you have to pay for your porn, otherwise, there's going to be no more porn.
Yeah, absolutely.
And where, like, what? I mean, I know like where, but like it's so weird that people think it should be free. Really? Like what on this planet is really that free? That is like someone's putting time and energy into creating.
That's legal. That's like legal. Like remember Napster? It was like, oh, you can
and
musical people's music.
Shut down.
I always felt so bad. I was like, I don't feel comfortable.
And now we're out of that one, but like let's get out of the porn one, everyone.
Porn ones. Yeah, it's terrible. And anyway. I like this conversation. This is really great because we do talk about this often on the show about how important it is to pay for your porn and also your educational videos when you're learning the instruction. So I'm happy that we're revisiting that topic. And I want to get on to a bit of a sexier topic right now. Not that porn isn't sexy, and also that fantasies are sexy. But
I like this question that you're going to ask.
I know this is a good one. So okay, we have to ask you this. How did you become known as the butt girl?
Or is it just butt girl?
Or is it just butt girl? Or is it the butt girl?
It's butt girl. It's like the queen of anal. It's I'm not competing with porn performers who are like really the queen of anal. But when I wrote my book, people definitely said to me, Tristan, if you write this book, you're going to get pigeonholed as like the girl who wrote the book on anal sex. And truthfully, that's really worked out for me because, when people are writing an article or talking about anal sex or referencing anal sex, whether it's in Cosmo or it's in like a dissertation, guess what? They have to reference me.
Girl.
So that kind of worked out for me. And I think I was just an early adopter. When you think back to 1998, I mean, people were not. Now it's so casual, right? It's like Men's Health, all the ways you can fuck each other in the ass. Here's a list, right? It's super, super cash, but it was not like that in the 90s, people. It was not. So I was an early adopter, and then I just became known as kind of like the resource for anal. And I remain that. People always ask me, are you sick of teaching my anal 101 class is called Anal Sex for Everybody. And I say no, because there's someone who is just discovering anal, or they are just starting to think about it, like, ooh, this may happen, or they just talk to their partner about it, or they've been fantasizing about it. There's someone like that everywhere, right? There's many someones. And so I want to be there to like give them the sex positive, introduction that centers consent and it centers really safe and pleasurable sex. And so when I get tired of it, I guess I'll stop teaching it, but that hasn't happened.
Yeah, people ask us, are you ever going to run out of topics? Like, no, it's sex and relationships. It's endless. And we can have the same speaker come on our show and speak on all these different topics, or have one topic that all these different speakers can speak on, because so many different perspectives. We're constantly learning. So yeah, it's just endless. And I love that about sex.
And there still is stigma around anal, even to this day. Sometimes even at sex toy trade shows. I've been in Europe at sex toy trade shows showing a vibrating butt plug. And I was like, this is good for anal sex. And they were like, oh, and then it was like hot face.
Surrounded by butt plugs.
Like, yeah, I was like, oh, did I embarrass you? Like, French is really bad, but do you want anal?
Yeah.
This is great.
Yeah.
This is great for that.
I don't know how to say anal in French.
I know. I'm learning.
Did anyone ever make a little logo of you with like a cape as butt girl?
Oh.
No, someone once made a drawing of me with a cape when I was adventure girl for On Our Backs.
Okay.
So there is, so I've had a cape, so to speak, but I've never had like a cape for anal sex.
Someone's got to get on.
She was
that.
also just thinking about before that what anal is in French. You were like,
oh, do you know?
It's anal.
That's exactly what I said. Perfect. So I did tell them correctly.
My book has also been translated into French. The
awesome.
sex book, so it's like, and it's like plaisir de anal.
Yes.
Universal orifice, everyone. Okay, so you have. So that's, obviously that book, The Ultimate Guide to Anal Sex. Also, you have so many books, and so we can. So, I was like, you can list all of them if you like, or also go to your website, which we'll share too. But Opening Up also was something that was really life changing for me and a lot of people that we've worked with. It's a really powerful book on non-monogamy, and also The Ultimate Guide to Kink. So, anyways, Erotica. So, can you just tell us more about the content that you created, so that people have an idea of all the different avenues?
How many books?
They can learn?
How many books do you have?
Yeah. So I have edited 25 collections. So like, for example, The Ultimate Guide to Kink is a collection of a lot of different educators all writing on specific subjects. So everyone wrote one chapter, and I edited the Feminist Porn Book. I'm a co-editor on that. So that's all about, if you want to learn more about feminist porn, you get that book. And then I've written 9 books. So together I have 34 books.
Wow. That's amazing.
My gosh, my heart I start like getting goosebumps, because the one that we did
we're good at that one.
Yeah, I was like,
I will do a memoir someday, but that will be like in 20 years. So,
never, because you never know, right?
Yeah.
And right. And I think as time passes, I might forget about all the stress. But
also there might be Shameless Sex Part 2.
Yes, I know.
Because we love a sequel. Yeah.
Yes.
We love a sequel. Let's do that in porn. Like that'll actually be like an erotic video, maybe.
Okay. Great.
Yeah. That is incredible, Tristan.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's amazing. No wonder you have a memoir. You have so many accolades and so much that you've created and share with the world. And what's your favorite though? Can I ask? Or is that a bad question?
No, I mean, like your children, right? It's like, oh no, I don't have a favorite, but this memoir is really, really, really personal. And it was a deep dive. And it's very emotional. In it, I share a lot of things that I've never shared before publicly. So it's very intimate to me. It's like my most intimate book, even though I've written a ton about my own sex life, which people would think, oh, that seems very vulnerable and raw. And this was way harder than that. And there's also plenty of sex, don't worry. So yeah, this memoir feels like a huge accomplishment. It was the hardest to write. And it's my life, right? So it's like putting myself out there in a way, if someone wants to critique my book on the G-spot, they could be like, what are these positions? She doesn't know anything about the G-spot, right? Great. That's a bad review. If someone gives me a bad review for my memoir, it's like, who's this bitch? And why does she even think we care? So it's way more personal, and it's the biggest thing that I've done to date for sure.
Wow. Well, thank you for creating this and sharing yourself with all of us, because you are, as we said many times throughout this interview, you are someone we've looked up to, and you really are a pioneer. And you listed all these incredible humans that have shaped the world before you were able to, right? Maybe you were too young, but you really have helped Amy and I, as well as humans in this field. So thank you. And thank you for sharing. I cannot wait to read it. I too get tired of the digital PDF version. So being able to take it with me, I'm
the same
great,
way.
So.
I mean, I just like a physical book. Yeah. And also we're on the screen too much. So it's like now I have to read on the screen too.
Right. And we know that when you go to sleep, it's better to not look at screens, look at your book. It'll help you get better sleep, everyone.
Absolutely.
So get the hardcover. It's a hardcover, right? Or is it paperback? Hardcover.
And as you said, there's 45 really personal photographs, some of which have never been seen before. So it's beautiful. I mean, Duke University Press, which is who published it, did a gorgeous job on it.
Love that.
That is incredible. I love the cover. And if you're not checking us out on YouTube, check us out, because Tristan's book is in her backdrop, and it's actually it's beautiful, eye-catching, and we're so grateful that you took the time out of your busy schedule to chat with our listeners and to hang with Amy and I. So where can people buy your books? Most all of them, I don't know if they're all in the same places. And also, if you're working with folks out there, how can they find you and work with you?
Yeah. So they can find my books wherever books are, right? So there's that big giant behemoth of a website, but also bookshop.org is a way that you can support independent bookstores. And my book is also available on audio. We just talked about all the different ways you can read it. So it's ebook, it's hardcover, it's ebook, and it's audio. And I narrate the audio book. I'm really proud of how it came out. Audible did an amazing job. So you can get that at Audible. And your local bookstore, like I really encourage people to ask your local bookstore to order it, ask your local library to order it, right? You don't even need to buy it. You can go into your local library and say, hey, will you order this? And then for me, my website is tristantaormino.com. Just, kind of start spelling it and it'll come up. I know I have a hard name to spell.
Phonetics of it.
I said it wrong. I say Tristan Taormino. It's Taormino.
Well, it's Taormino, but Taormino is way closer than a lot of people get.
Okay.
A lot of people. And then I'm on social media at Tristan Taormino. I'm most active on Instagram. So I do my own Instagram, and that's a mix of like personal and professional. So that's also, you can email me from my website, or you can email me, like DM me through Instagram. I actually, check my DMs and try to answer them and all that. And that'll be, a place too where people can find out what I'm doing, because I'm traveling a lot with the book right now. And at most cities where I'm doing a book reading, I'm also doing a workshop. Right. And so I'm able to come back home. Essentially, I consider it home. These sex positive sex shops around the country, like Babeland, Early to Bed. I was just at Lotus Blooms in Virginia. And I teach all sorts of things besides anal. I teach the G-spot, fantasy role play, kinky mommy play, BDSM. So you can catch me in person, which is new and different since COVID hit us. So, it's the first time I've been out on the road in like 5 years, really. So if you want to see me in person too.
So people can find that if they go to your website where you're going to be.
They go to my website. There's like a whole event calendar. So just click on events and you'll see my whole calendar, which is public.
Perfect. And the name of the memoir is A Part of the Heart Can't Be Eaten or Eaten. What do you say?
I say eaten, but I just have a weird thing with T's. So.
I know.
Eaten. Like
eaten.
bacon.
A part of the heart can't be eaten. I think I say eaten.
Okay,
Eaten,
cool.
yeah.
Chris, Amy.
I say kitten instead of kitten. Kitten.
It's very Indian.
It's T's are really weird for me.
No,
we did our audiobook too. And I was like, oh God, please don't have any kittens in there.
There weren't. They're just more pussies, right?
Yeah.
It's like
Right,
no
right.
Kittens.
No kittens.
No teas, no teas.
No. Well, I'm excited. We'll have all these links on our website at shamelesssex.com in case you're driving or, you can't link all this right now in your brain. You can always come back and visit shamelesssex.com and find Tristan's work. There's so much of it, obviously. You're so impressive. And it's been an honor to talk with you for this time. Thank you. And maybe our book tours will overlap and we can like grab a coffee and just like hang out for a while because it would be wonderful to see you in person again.
Are you coming to LA?
We will be.
Yep.
January.
Yeah.
We'll have all our book dates listed on our website at some point.
Someday soon.
Someday soon. We're
Because
working on that.
I'm a fan of yours and your
thank you.
podcast is amazing. And so I can't wait to read this book.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
That
books
means
all
so much.
around, everyone. Hardcovers,
And
though. And
book.
if you get the audio in your audio version, still get the hardcover because it really supports the the audio supports everyone too, the creators of it, because you did your own audiobook. But, get it all. Give it as a gift. Who knows?
Yeah.
It's definitely a book to buy two of. I mean, someone's going to quote, borrow it from you and never give it back.
Yes, I know.
Oh, yeah.
You know who you are.
Yeah,
Just
we're
get to.
talking to you.
Yes. Well, I love this. I love this so much. The time went too fast. I'm like, we should do a 2-hour kind of like Joe Rogan style, but it would be cool. We're going to see you in person. We'll let you know when we're in LA. To all of our Shameless Sex listeners, definitely check out all of Tristan's work. And again, also on socials to see where she is. And we love you. We love you so much. Remember, support your local porn stars, support your local authors. You don't have to be local, but support the ethical ones. And it just helps more people have more shameless sex in the world. That's what Tristan's been doing since the 90s. And we're so appreciative of her work. And because you're listening, we know that you care about making the world a better place. So buy this content, buy the books, and this podcast is free because we love you. So I'm going to sign off for now. I'm sad. I guess Amy has to sign off too. But we'll see you next Tuesday, y'all. Ciao for now.